Welcome to another audio article from the Intelligent Speculator. This article was published on May 8th, 2020, and the title is Why This Recession Will Become a Depression. So let's get right into it. A depression is defined as a decline in real GDP that is greater than 10% and or a recession that lasts more than 2 years. According to that standard, I believe the recession we are currently in will meet both of those criteria by 2022. Now, the question has been posed asking why this recession that was initiated by the COVID-19 pandemic will not play out like a normal recession where economic output declines for 12 to 24 months, but then bounces back like it has for the past 90 years, at least in the United States. What makes our economic situation we find ourselves in more perilous than anything we have seen since 1930? Well, in a word, debt, and lots of it. You see, our federal debt, not including the debt of individual states, is currently $25 trillion and will increase by another $2 to $3 trillion in the next year. That is currently over 100% of what the United States produces in total economic output in an entire year, around $21 trillion. That number also doesn't include our corporate debt, which is somewhere between 19 and 25 trillion, nor does it include personal debt, which is around 15 trillion. And it's not just the United States. The entire world is facing similar or worse debt levels. Now, debt itself is not a bad thing. In fact, if it's being used for productive means, then it's a very good thing because it allows an economy to grow at an accelerated pace that wouldn't happen if you had to settle every purchase in cash, meaning it allows the opportunity to leverage cash to create more economic productivity. How debt creates problems. Debt becomes a problem when it goes mostly towards consumption, i.e., the unproductive areas of the economy, rather than going towards productive parts of the economy that can create enough future value to service not only the debt, but also the interest on that debt. For example, if a person takes on a debt to pay for a house, then that debt doesn't increase the economic pie in a country. On the other hand, the debt that pays to build a dam that provides renewable energy to communities will create value for the community and the economy. Obviously, buying a house or consumption goods is not a bad thing. In fact, those things can increase our overall personal well-being and happiness. But buying a house that you're not renting will not provide something of value that will help pay off debt of that house you live in. That is why you have to go to work in a productive area of the economy to create personal value so you can pay off your debt. Now, the United States and the world in general has far too much debt in the unproductive areas of the economy at levels we have never seen in history. And how do we know this to be true? In the United States, this sort of debt is revealed by the fact our economy has never grown by more than 3% on an annual basis since 2005, even though we have had over 4 times as much debt created since then. This means our debt has far outpaced our ability to service it. And that doesn't include promises like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and state, federal, commercial pensions. What this means for this recession. This recession will most likely kick off significant bankruptcies and debt forgiveness of individuals, businesses, and even states. All of this will have to be done because all the debt was taken on under the assumption we could grow our way out of it. But our economy is going into a recession and in much worse position than we were in 2008. To put this in perspective, the 2000 recession was started by a long-term capital management hedge fund declaring bankruptcy, which required the largest banks on Wall Street to bail it out with billions of dollars to avert full economic contagion. In 2008, it was the banks on Wall Street that needed a bailout from the Federal Reserve to avoid economic contagion. This resulted in the Federal Reserve providing a little over $2 trillion from 2008 to 2011. This time around, the Federal Reserve has already printed $6 trillion in 2 months, and 3 times more than what we did in the totality during the Great Recession of 2008. And they will need to print even more in the coming months to stop the contagion. So who is going to bail out the Federal Reserve? Granted, they can do unlimited debt monetization, which means printing more money, But they have to be careful how hot they run the presses because otherwise they will scare the world into dumping most or all their dollar reserves and dollar denominated assets like stocks and bonds very soon. They will have to let individuals, companies, cities, and even likely states go bankrupt. This will cause a severe economic contraction that we have not seen in 100 years, resulting in painful period of deleveraging and debt forgiveness. Now you may be thinking, but can't the Federal Reserve just print money to pay back the debt? Or the federal government just cancels the debt on everything and it's all good? In theory, it sounds great, but you have to remember that one person's debt, i.e. a liability, is another person's asset. And if the other party cannot collect their asset, or they are paid back in cheaper dollars, they've lost out on expected revenue, which makes that party of the transaction unable to spend as much or sell remaining assets to make up for which they've lost, which creates a very vicious deflationary cycle. Based on having reached peak debt in our credit cycle, that will cause a financial reset to occur. I'm convinced we are no longer entering a normal recession, but instead a depression. But even as we enter this period, an intelligent speculator has much more to be hopeful for than to fear. For as history has shown, Great Depressions provide great opportunities. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to another audio article. If you would like to take a minute and like and subscribe, we would appreciate that. And hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when new episodes are available. If you would like to learn more from the Intelligent Speculator, feel free to join our exclusive Facebook group and interact with Lathan Fritz, the Intelligent Speculator himself, or keep up to date with us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Good day.